Many thanks for joining us on KTN Prime. Deputy President William Ruto is now seeking to waive his right to be present at his upcoming trial at The Hague. According to a defense request filed today, Ruto wants to attend court only at the opening and closing of his trial during judgment, anytime the judges summon him or when he chooses to. Sophia Wanuna starts our coverage tonight with the Deputy President's request that could be the first test of cooperation between the ICC and the Kenyan leaders set for trial.
Deputy President William Ruto, through his lead counsel Karim Khan, has written to the International Criminal Court seeking to waive his right to be present during his trial that begins on 28th of May this year. In its application, Ruto's defense team cites Article 67 of the Rome Statute, which states that an accused shall be entitled to be present at the trial, arguing that his presence in court based on that article is a right, not an obligation.
Being present in court does not mean physical presence. Yeah. What is important is representation. Are you properly represented? So that you cannot come back and say, you people conducted the case in my absence.
Ruto's waiver application is with the exception of the opening and closing of trial, judgment and all other hearings at which his attendance is requested by the trial chamber, which he promises to attend, and or sessions he may choose to attend.
Considers it necessary and decides not to hold the hearing in your absence, as provided for in Rule 125, Sub-Rule 4. You are also entitled to waive your right to attend any status conference to follow and to be conducted for the purposes of the proper and efficient disclosure procedure.
Ruto had in February this year made another application requesting to be considered present at the trial through video link, an application that is still before the trial chamber. Ruto's team now wants the waiver considered as the primary request and the video link request as an alternative.
If you go all the way from, I think, Articles 124, 125, 126, they provide for waiver of an accused person from physically being present at a hearing. Although the rules talk about waiver, for instance, at the confirmation hearing. So right from the confirmation, an accused person has got a right, one, to be present at the trial, and has also got the right to waive the right to be present personally or in person.
Ruto's counsel further say that the application is in no question to draw the trial chamber into Kenyan politics, but simply a reasoned and practical request in view of his unique situation as a serving deputy head of state, seeking to balance his constitutional responsibilities to the people of Kenya and his oath of office, and his personal commitment to cooperate with the court. Ruto is facing charges of crimes against humanity at the ICC. Others facing similar charges are President Uhuru Kenyatta and radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang. Sophia Wanuna, KTN.
Well, the members of the National Assembly allied to the Code Coalition are now jostling for the chairmanship of the powerful Public Accounts Committee and the Public Investments Committee ahead of the constitution of 28 committees in the National Assembly. The House Business Committee and the Committee on Selection were formed today, with the Jubilee Coalition taking the lion's share in the membership both in the National Assembly and in the Senate. KTN's note, with that report on the first day of business for the 11th Parliament.
Members, I then propose the question.
Attention now shifts to lobbying for the key committees in both the National Assembly and the Senate after the formation of the first two key bodies in the 11th Parliament. The National Assembly has seen Jubilee take 20 out of the 32 slots in the House Business Committee, which will control the agenda of this House. The CORD team has taken the remaining 12 slots. There are 9 women in the House Business Committee and 23 men.
Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
In the Committee on Selection, which will allocate members to all the other 28 committees in the National Assembly, Jubilee has taken 13 out of the 21 slots, with CORD taking 8 slots. There are 7 women in this committee, which will be chaired by Adan Duale, the majority leader.
parliamentary committees are very, very, very important. The nerve center of the 11th Parliament.
The Jubilee coalition should be entitled to a maximum of 12 members and not 13, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, if this is repeated, then Chord coalition is going to be disadvantaged.
The priority now will be the constitution of the Committee on Appointments, the body that will vet cabinet nominees sent to the National Assembly by President Uhuru Kenyatta. But there is also keen interest on the two individuals that will head the Public Accounts Committee and the Public Investments Committee. At the Naivasha retreat on Monday, the Chord coalition, which expects to get these two positions, decided that the chairmanship of the Public Accounts Committee will go to the ODM party, while the Public Investments Committee will go to Ford Kenya. Ford Kenya had indicated that they would nominate Kisumu West MP Olago Aloch to chair the Public Investments Committee.
What is it, Senator Wako?
In the Senate, the Rules and Business Committee was formed, with Jubilee taking 7 slots and Chord taking 5 slots. 4 of the members of this committee are women. Now KTN Prime.
Let's look at selection of a different kind, and the wait for the new cabinet continues as President Uhuru Kenyatta failed to name his cabinet nominees today. The president is reported to have delayed his announcement until Parliament forms the Committee on Appointments, and as KTN's Ashamwilu reports, Uhuru's list is set to exclude prominent names in the political scene otherwise expected to be in the next cabinet.
Another day wore off with President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto keeping their list of cabinet nominees tightly embargoed. However, reports reaching KTN indicate that a rude shock awaits some of the top contenders for cabinet positions. The National Intelligence Service, which was probing the Uhuru Ruto cabinet list, has expressed serious reservations in some of the nominees. NIS reported back to the president with a catalogue of scandals that could see some of the front-runners disqualified. Prominent politicians who served in key cabinet dockets during the Grand Coalition are set to miss out on cabinet posts. In fact, even though the Constitution grants the president the leeway to establish a maximum 22 ministries, Uhuru wants only 19. This number will reportedly include the office of the Attorney General.
Our Constitution envisages lean and effective government. This involves not just reducing the number of ministries, but restructuring the entire government and changing how it works. We will streamline the agencies of government to end the confusing and wasteful overlap of responsibilities.
But that's all the information a strategic Uhuru has made public so far. Sources close to the two principals, however, say that a number of technocrats will feature in the list. The president is, however, said to be waiting on Parliament to form the Committee on Appointments before announcing his list. He, however, has set aside some 8 spare names in case some of his nominees are rejected by the committee. The cabinet secretaries have to conform to the leadership and integrity constitutional requirements like all state officers. Once the Committee on Appointments receives the names, it will have 14 days to vet the nominees and table its report in the House. For now, the president's cards remain close to his chest as the wait for the Jubilee cabinet continues. Ashamwilu, KTN, Nairobi.
Right now, the Director of Public Prosecution, Keriako Tobiko, has appointed a probe team to investigate why the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, a voters' identification kits and results transmission system, failed on election day. This is in response to a recommendation by the 6 judges of the Supreme Court that the matter be investigated and any IEBC officials found guilty of impropriety be prosecuted. The recommendation stems from the fact that during the election petition hearings, it emerged that there were misunderstandings and squabbles over the tender of the electronic devices, and this could have led to the failure of the system. Now, 4 prosecutors will be seconded to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission that has already launched an investigation on the tendering of the biometric voter registration kits. A report by the probe team and the Ethics Commission will be submitted to the DPP's office, and Tobiko will then determine if his office needs to prosecute any culpable individuals. All right, now that story leads us to a big question, and tonight we ask, do you support the IBC probe ordered by Keriako Tobiko? Send yes or no to the responses, the brief comments, to the number 8040. Linda and I will sample your views during this newscast and give you the poll results at the end of this bulletin.
Indeed, it would be very interesting to see some of your opinions, and of course the number is 8040. Now let's take you all the way to the coast, and the controversial play Shackles of Doom by Butere Girls can now be staged at the ongoing Kenya Schools and Colleges Drama Festival in Mombasa. The High Court has lifted a ban imposed on the play by the Ministry of Education. The ruling by High Court Judge Justice David Majanja now paves the way for the play to be staged in its original form. The order followed an application by human rights activist Okia Omtata, who had moved to court seeking orders to lift the ban and to pave the play staged in its original composition. Now, the Ministry of Education had banned the play, saying it contained some hate undertones and did not conform to the rules of the Kenya Schools and Colleges Drama Festival. The play portrays an equal distribution of resources and the dominance of key government positions by some ethnic groups. Of course, let's bring in from our Mombasa Bureau, Ferdinand Omondi, who has been following this story for us. Actually, and I understand it's not Ferdinand, it's a guest, that is Cleophas Malala. Thank you for speaking to us on KTN this evening. Of course, we are following that story by Butere Girls, that school that is based in Western region. Their play Shackles of Doom had been banned, and of course there was a lot of outcry, especially on the social media, really, on why this play was banned. They were focusing on pertinent issues that have been affecting people in the society, issues of inequality. That is one issue really that a lot of analysts seem to think that President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta may need to address as he comes in at the president. Let's now speak to Cleophas Malala and in Mombasa. Cleophas, thank you so much for speaking to us. You are the writer of the controversial play that saw the government banning it and making it very clear that Butere Girls was not going to be allowed to participate. How does this ruling today make you feel?
I feel so delighted today. I'm a very happy man because justice has been served to the people. I'm very happy.
What was your play really about? What were the issues that had issues with the government?
I was trying to tackle the issue of nepotism, ethnicity, and an equal distribution of the national resources.
And someone had a problem with it because?
Yeah, someone had a problem with it because they thought that I was depicting a certain ethnic group, but the play was actually mirroring what is happening in the society. We are reflecting the realities of the society.
All right, Cleophas, thank you so much for speaking to us in Mombasa. Stay with me in just a few minutes because I want to find out really what the basis of that judgment was all about. What did the judge have to say? I'm sure you attended that ruling.
Yeah. The judge ordered the play to be performed in its original composition. It also compelled the organizing committee to cater for the costs for traveling, accommodation and meals for students and teachers of Butere Girls.
So are they finally going to make it to the game?
I think, yes.
Are they finally going to make it to Mombasa? Will they be able to participate?
Yeah, the whole school is excited about it and we are eager to stage up that production on Sunday evening.
All right, Cleophas, thank you so much for speaking to KTN and for giving us your reactions on the ruling that was given today, that allowed the play Shackles of Doom by Butere Girls to actually be performed in Mombasa. Smart.
Well, thank you very much, Linda. Now that a much-awaited cabinet continues as we wait for that President Uhuru Kenyatta is reported delayed announcement until Parliament forms the committee on appointments. But yesterday the President did announce his 9-point plan on how he plans his government to just tackle the issues that affect this country. Now joined in studio by Osano Kute, who's an expert in governance. Thank you very much, sir. Just to bring you back and just to refresh your memories in terms of what the president did exactly talk about yesterday, talked about the 9-point plan. What, in your perspective and in your mind, would you say is the direction that President Uhuru Kenyatta and Uhuru Kenyatta's government would be like? Give you an example. For the last 10 years, we've known that Mwai Kibaki has been infrastructure. What would be a President Uhuru Kenyatta government be like?
Actually, first of all, what I need to do is to correct that. Actually, the infrastructure was actually a Raila Odinga, campaign, manifesto in the last election. President Kibaki actually looked at, economic development and security. But now moving to Uhuru Kenyatta, what he has actually emphasized, today is looking at the youth and women. He's looking at family values, and he's trying to make sure that we have a situation where he's going to bring in 10 million people out of poverty by the year 2017. So he's actually, emphasizing on family values and youth and women.
One would ask then, what's the transition like coming from a government that your perspective say well to security and economic development, and a transition to Uhuru Kenyatta who says focusing on family values, youth and women? What's that transition? Where do we draw the lines in terms of, how do we find resources, how do we change policies like that?
Well, actually, I think what Uhuru Kenyatta has actually done as a president of Kenya is to say that I want to really move away from what has been done before. And I want to really be Uhuru and not Kenyatta. I don't want to really have a legacy or to fuata nyayo of any given president of the past. So he's actually looking at the youth and saying that I am going to look at youth and development, and the youth was actually the basis of my campaign. So he's going to really make sure that he gets the youth on his side, because that's actually what he promised during his campaign. And he has actually talked about coming up with a youth and women fund to make sure that he funds development activities that youth and women will participate in towards the economic development in this country.
In your mind, what would you say is one striking difference that from what you picked out from Uhuru's 9-point plan and the way he plans to shape his government and plan to shape his legacy is in your mind? Just what is that one difference that he would create?
Well, actually, I'll look at one thing which Uhuru Kenyatta came up with, and he said that he's going to look at concentrate on protecting the family and improving the quality of life in the country. So obviously that's what he took an oath to do. Now very few or none of the previous presidents have actually looked at that. When they talked about infrastructure and everything else, they were really not looking at the people, because at the end of the day it's not about developing infrastructure only. You're looking at developing infrastructure to the benefit of the people of the country. So he has actually tried to move away from building things and focusing on family values and looking at where we are coming from and where we are supposed to be going to. So education is going to be one of the things that he needs really to be focusing on, so that children, education is not just education for the sake of education, but education for national development.
I must ask you this before I let you go, the million-dollar question involving the money. Where are we getting the money to do all these promises and to fund all these policies, if you like?
Well, I think Kenya is actually a very rich country, and we must actually admit that Uhuru Kenyatta, during his tenure as the Minister for Finance, he is the first person to come up with a trillion shilling budget. So, and it has actually worked. Everybody must actually believe that there's a lot of money, and there's so many people, development partners. China is actually willing to actually pump in so much money. America, the European Union and everybody else is willing to pump in so much money into the development of Kenya. So in terms of budgets and all that, I don't think we really have a problem. We have enough money to fund the development activities.
We shouldn't be worried.
We should not be worried.
Well, I will keep that, and we will talk about this in 3 months, 3 years, and 5 years, and keep that account and just trying to find out just the 9-point plan. Uhuru Kenyatta, what exactly would a President Uhuru Kenyatta government be like, and what will be his strong points and what he's emphasizing on? Linda.
Smart, thank you very much. Of course, it will be interesting to discuss this in a few months. Just look at the promises that have been given by the Jubilee Coalition and the scorecard down the line, 5, 6, 7 months down the line. Of course, we'll keep an eye on that for you. And now to a daily update on the flood situation, and the death toll attributed to floods rose to 41 after 2 children were buried alive in a landslide in Olturot village in Narok County. The 2 were asleep in their home when the landslide occurred, bringing down the house built on a slope. Their mother, a widow who was asleep in an adjacent room, however, survived. Wilkis Tanyabwa has details of that story.
What remains of this house tells of the tragedy that befell residents of Olturoto village in Narok County on Tuesday night. As heavy rains continued to pound parts of the country, residents here went off to bed, among them a woman and her 2 children, 2 boys aged 5 and 12. As they slept, a landslide occurred, carrying away the little house where they slept, while the section where the woman slept was left relatively untouched. The 2 children would be buried beneath the mud.
Mbuzi tulipata kuziokoa zikiwa hai na punda, lakini watoto wawili walikuwa wameaga dunia. Mama naye aliponea chupuchupu, maji haikupita mahali nyumba yake, ilidivide nyumba mara mbili.
Mama mwenyewe ndio alienda akaona neti ilikuwa kwa kitanda na akabahamisha watu ili walikuwa wanajifunika naye. Wakati watu walipekua kwa matope, ndio walikuta watoto wamefunikwa hapo na kitanda ile walikuwa wanalalia na matresi na wakawatoa.
It would take the efforts of residents here to pull them out, aided by Kenya Red Cross officials who arrived here to help in the search and recovery efforts.
Now we have rains, heavy rains and the floods within the country. Wale wako karibu mteremko wa mto waame, kwa sababu mnaona vile maji inateremka na vile tumejenga hii ni jaza, na tutaki tena kupoteza watu tena. Tunahimiza watu waame, waende mahali kuko juu, na mvua ikiisha watu wanaweza kurudi mahali walikuwa wanaishi.
Residents however say that they have never experienced a mudslide in this region.
Kwa tukiona sehemu nyingine lakini sio sehemu hii, kwa hivyo ni jambo la kustua sana.
This as the meteorological department warns that the heavy rains are likely to last until the month of May. And as dark clouds gather once again, residents go off to bed, wondering what this night holds for them. Wilkis Tanyabwa, KTN at Olturoto village in Narok County.
Alright, now a reminder to big question, and tonight we're asking you, do you support the IEBC probe ordered by Keriako Tobiko?
Of course, earlier in the day, the Director of Public Prosecution, Keriako Tobiko, appointed a probe team to investigate why the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission's voter identification kit and results transmission system failed on election day. We'd like to know what you think. Send your yes or no response with a brief comment to the number 8040. Of course, we will sample that at the tail end of this bulletin.
Indeed, we're taking a short break, but coming right up.
In a population of 40 million Kenyans, we only have 17,000 mortgages. Those are the figures we'll be looking at in the recently released Has Consult Property Index. Now, we also know that the African Development Bank has approved $232 million for the construction of the Kenya-Tanzania roads. I have the details coming up in business.
You're watching KTN Prime. Thank you so much for staying with us.
Indeed. Now, family, friends and members of the Kenya National Union of Teachers, NAT, came together to celebrate the life of the late NAT Secretary General David Okuta at a funeral service held at the Consolata Shrines in Westlands.
From his family to those who worked and interacted with him, Okuta was praised for his commitment to his work and his contribution in fighting for the rights of teachers.
The late Okuta will be laid to rest at his Nyando home on Friday in a ceremony expected to be attended by President Uhuru Kenyatta, top government leaders and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
Okuta died on the 2nd of April at the Rongai branch of Nairobi Women's Hospital.
Done. He attracted notice wherever he went, and the press always gathered to hear what he had to say concerning the teachers and pupils of this nation.
I'm proud to have had one of the most effective Secretary General for this unit. The best time we would discuss and plan issues was at night over the telephone. Because I remember most of the strikes, most of the issues we have undertaken through consultations at night, and I remember one instance we had to instruct Nyamu to bring teachers on short notice because parliamentarians were going to pass a budget through guillotine.
Right, in yesterday's state opening of the 11th Parliament, one aspect of the elaborate ceremony tickled many legislators in attendance: the prayer in Maasai language. Well,
it has become more like a ritual that accompanies the state opening parliament administered by Mzee Siopon Lekolol.
It is a prayer for the nation and the incoming parliament, but yesterday Mzee Lekolol left the house in stitches. KTN's Betty Chalo caught up with him and now reports on the prayer that has become the hallmark of parliament's state opening.
A passionate prayer that echoed inside Parliament chambers on Tuesday during the official opening of the 11th Parliament. Very few understood the content of the prayer, but they all listened in silence. However, when the good Maasai leader was just about to conclude, he raised his voice and in a high pitch said his last words. Something that got the honorable members laughing hard. Not even the president was spared.
Excellency, you may now take your seat.
And a day after, we caught up with him in Parliament, all warmed up in a heavy jacket and in the company of his firstborn son, Ibrahim. After a warm introduction, the question in mind was just how he became an all-important presence in Kenya's significant events.
Wakati Mheshimiwa Lesirima, the former Assistant Minister for Internal Security and Administration, akiwa PS, ndio ilikuwa wakati ya Moi. Moi alikuwa president wakati hiyo. Sasa akamsuggestia pengine Moi ndio alikuwa anataka msee ule anayeombea kwa bunge.
Mzee Lekolol tells us that he has prayed for every new parliament since time immemorial. He prayed during former President Daniel Moi and former President Mwai Kibaki's regimes, and now under the new leadership of President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Mungu awalinde na muishi na amani, Wasamburu, Wakikuyu, Wajaluo, kabila yote ile kwa Kenya.
Prayers that former legislators drawn from his community responded to every time he took the podium. And as we wind up our interview, Mzee Lekolol tells us that his lifetime is not only marked with his public prayers for Kenya, but he was also in the army during the colonial era. Now, every time a new parliament opens, you will never miss the presence of Mzee Lekolol. With a small allowance from the state, he leaves Maralal, leaving everything behind to come pray for Kenya. For KTN, I'm Betty Kialo in Parliament.
Now interesting, Mzee Lekolol there unmasked. Now, a letter addressed to U.S. President Barack Obama containing a suspicious substance has been intercepted. Initial tests on the letter showed the presence of the lethal toxin ricin. The letter is linked to another list with ricin intended for a U.S. senator. According to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the letters addressed to President Obama and U.S. Senator Roger Wicker were both postmarked Memphis, Tennessee, and dated 8th April. And arrived at a remote facility yesterday. U.S. Capitol Police are questioning a suspect in connection with the tainted letters. The contents of the letter intended for Obama have been sent to an accredited laboratory for further analysis, with results expected in 24 to 48 hours. A spokesman for the Secret Service, which protects the U.S. President and his family, said it was liaising with the U.S. Capitol Police and the FBI to trace the origins of the letters. Ricin is extracted from castor beans and is 1,000 times more toxic than cyanide. It can be fatal when inhaled, swallowed or injected, although it is possible to recover from exposure to it.
Right, Fatuma Binti Baraka, better known as B. Kidude, is dead. The sensational Taarab musician was found dead at her home in Zanzibar after being bedridden for the past several months. B. Kidude started her musical career in the 1920s and is today considered the undisputed queen of Taarab and Unyango music, and is also a protege of Siti Binti Saad. Her exact date of birth is unknown, but some say she was over 100 years old. Much of her life story is also a mystery, giving her an almost mythical status. She presented herself as a young spirit, beating a large drum between her legs and occasionally smoking a cigarette or taking a swig of liquor from the bottle. B. Kidude leaves behind a huge legacy in the Taarab music industry.
All right, back home, President Uhuru Kenyatta has assured the National Police Service that his government will ensure an efficient police force through capacity building, provision of necessary equipment and improved welfare of the officers. Uhuru met with the National Police Service Commission members led by Chairman Johnston Kavuludi ahead of a day-long security strategy meeting at the CID training school. Inspector General David Kimayo, who attended the meeting, said his team is ready to tackle security concerns around the 47 counties under the new government.
If you look at the Jubilee Manifesto, one of the key issues that the President has come out with, the Deputy President, is to address the issues of insecurity. And it is good that it is written in black and white in the manifesto. So therefore, we are going to embrace the issues of peace, and we are very much assured that the government will be able to provide what is required to address some of these issues.
You're watching KTN Prime. We thank you for staying with us. We are taking a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Coming up. It is time for the day's business report. Good evening. My name is Boni Tunya. Kenyan tenants pay higher incomes in rent than their counterparts in neighboring Uganda and Tanzania, coupled by the fact that only less than 20% of the country's population are owning homes, while more than 80% residing in low-end market and informal settlements. Now, this is according to the latest property index by the Has Consult. KTN's Philip Keitani has all the figures.
The high cost of rent in the country has put some of the urban areas, especially Nairobi and Mombasa, on the list of the top prime international residential zones. According to the Global Report 2012, Nairobi was ranked with the list of the top prime international residential zones, with the housing market being higher compared to other regions in the world, a situation frustrating the appetite of the expanding middle class to own houses.
The anticipation of a lot of people within the industry is for a very good
year this year, and a lot of developers are hoping to make up for some pretty lean years.
We do believe the upwards pressure on rents has not yet fully played out, with more recent mortgage financed landlords recording losses on rentals and also seeking to recoup generally higher costs.
The 2013 first quarter House Property Index released Tuesday by House Consult indicate that the rental market is yet to see a further rise in prices despite limited disposal income among consumers who currently pay a higher proportion of their income to rent than in the norm globally.
The expectations would be to see the mortgage rates at around 4 percentage points above this, at 13 to 14%.
The report also pointed out that the mortgage sector in the country is currently at a crossroad due to the high interest rate charged by mainstream banks for housing finance, the Cooperative Bank and Barclays Bank being ranked as the cheapest lenders to the real estate. Philip Keitan, KTN Business Today.
Well, that's a bit tough, but now we have some good news where the African Development Bank has approved a 19.5 billion shilling loan for the construction of the 157.5-kilometer road project from Arusha in Holili in Tanzania to Taveta to Voi in Kenya in an effort to cut the cost of transport and improve ready access to agricultural inputs in the region. In the deal, Kenya will access $113.12 million or just about 9.5 billion shillings in the funding, while Tanzania will get the $120 million with a bank facility that will cover 89.1% of the total project cost. Now, the road construction project is expected to be completed by December 2018 and also is jointly financed by the governments of Kenya and Tanzania. Right, to matters back home, Kenya Power has apologized to its customers over the recent spate of power outages witnessed in the country. The power firm said the onset of the long rains has brought with it increased challenges, including flash floods and strong winds, which had disrupted services in various parts of the country. The firm also intimated it has set aside 9 billion shillings maintenance budget every year. Now, this comes on the back of reports from KenGen that hydropower plants have recorded above normal inflow.
So I want to apologize to Kenyans because we have, of course, subjected them to very prolonged outages, sometimes even very frequent, because of the very many challenges that I have stated here too. And I want to assure Kenyans that we are doing everything possible to restore supply in the meantime. I also want to assure Kenyans that we have short-term measures to address these challenges. And more importantly, we do have long-term measures to make sure that these challenges are minimized.
It is rather good to see apologies coming to consumers. Beverage maker Coca-Cola has partnered with energy solutions provider 1 Degree Solar for an initiative aimed at lowering energy cost for small business owners. A 6-month pilot project in 100 kiosks in Nairobi showed the energy kits only increased operating times for the businesses by 4 hours every day, as well as raising earnings by an average of about 15% or about 2,736 shillings per week, and saved energy spending over 250 shillings a week. Now, the deal, which initially targets Coca-Cola branded kiosks, will see business owners provided with energy kits developed specifically for small-scale energy needs. Now, this will include lighting, phone charging and radio powering. Right, Microsoft and the Microsoft Youth Initiative has launched the Innovate for Good campaign to inspire young app developers in Kenya to come up with applications that can provide local solutions for local problems, as well as market the apps. And as KTN's Joy Dorinbira reports, Kenya is setting pace for an energetic, youthful market.
Youth from universities and colleges across Kenya convened at the KICC this Wednesday as Microsoft launched the Innovate for Good program under the Microsoft Youth Spark initiative. This program is to develop the mindset of youth in Kenya with support from the Kenya ICT Board by enabling youth get exposure to the global software application stores.
There's so much opportunity for youth to drive solutions in health, water, education, local governance. It's a moment of change in Africa, and many people come to Kenya because they recognize that this is a place where things can really happen.
Government now is coming up with the legislation which will make it easier for them to participate in government contracts. That's an opportunity they need to tap into. Not just to wait until everything is structured. They need to start saying what are these challenges, and also offer solutions on how can they be tackled.
Kenya, whose goal is to become among the top 10 global hubs according to the ICT board, believes the youth in Kenya should tap into the now available opportunities in the ICT sector. The Innovate for Good program launch is aimed at encouraging self-employment among the youth in Kenya. However, for the young software application developers, purchase of international applications remains a challenge.
Local guys don't appreciate our application. In a way, I develop an application, you find that someone from Afghanistan is the one who will download our application. If we publish an app or we come up with an application, it comes so many protocols to undergo, so we find that it takes almost 10 trials for your application to be published on the store.
Some of the challenges the young software developers in Kenya face today are lack of business orientation skills to help them network among established business entities in the country, but if dealt with, could see Kenya's solutions for Kenya by Kenyans, hence changing the market entry points. Joy Doreen Bira, KTN Business Today.
Financial Markets Report in association with Safaricom Business.
Well, it is time to find out how your money is working for you. Let's take a look at the Financial Markets Review coming up next.
Financial Markets Report in association with Safaricom Business. For all your business communication needs, SMS 0702 000 777.
Well, that's all for business. My name is Bonitunya. Good night.
Brookside Secondary School basketball winners Shimba Hills girls team and runners-up Buruburu girls booked a semi-final ticket after winning their respective second matches in the ongoing schools games at Mangu High School. However, stakeholders feel the standards of the games have deteriorated due to the age regulation that bars students above the age of 18 from taking part in the annual games. Hassan Juma reports from Mangu.
Brookside Kenya Secondary School Sports Association Games highlights in association with Brookside Dairies. Brookside, nurturing sporting talent.
Brookside Girls Secondary School's defending champions Shimba Hills picked up where they left on Tuesday and went on to register their successive victory. They defeated Kirigara 113-23 as the discrepancy in the two teams played itself out on the court. Shimba Hills took the first quarter 34-4 with Ann 1-0 bagging 12 points before making it 29-3 before the breather. Even a pep talk could not rest to Kirigara, who lost the subsequent quarters 29-11 and 22-5 to bow out of the competition, while Shimba Hills advanced the semi-finals. Irene Acheng with the 8 points was equally industrious in the win. Despite the win, Shimba Hills coach Philip Onyango feels the games lacked their competitive edge, as was the case last year.
There's a lot that is being put into those girls for them to give that result. Apart from just the training itself, there's a lot of motivation the girls have. You look at the way they are dressing, you look at the shoes, and it is all systems go.
Buruburu Girls, last year's finalists, qualified from Pool B with a clinical show over heights of Aberdare 34-9 in a low-scoring match to claim the semi-finals ticket. Liza Mayenga scored 11 points for Buruburu, who have promised to upset the form book this time round, with Irene Cheng adding 8 points for the winners. Despite the loss, Naomi Waidera shone for heights as she got all the 9 points.
The competition this year for girls is a bit low, apart from 2 or 3 teams, that is Shimba, Buruburu and St. Bridget, which are a bit on the class of last year.
Friends School Kamusinga blanked the host Mangu High School 66-40 to book a place in the semi-finals with a 100% record. The host took the first quarter 12-8 with Kamusinga coming back in the second quarter strongly to take the quarter 21-8 with Sydney Mwanza getting 24 points. The sides cancelled each other out in the third quarter with a 13-13 scoreline. Paul Rotich and Carl Arum were the most visible players. They scored 18 and 11 points respectively. Mangu slumped in the final quarter going down 25-7. Mangu will have to wait until the final preliminary match against Kangaru to know the semi-final fate.
The competition is okay. I would say we are evenly matched. With the exit of Laser Hill, the other teams are just evenly matched.
Following the heavy rains pounding Thika, track events have been shifted to the Moi Sports Center Kasarani tomorrow. With swimming and the final preliminary rounds of basketball the key highlights. Buruburu girls have a chance to avenge for last year's defeat in the hands of Shimba Hills after both teams, Shimba Hills and Buruburu girls, qualified for the semi-finals of the ongoing secondary school games. Reporting for KTN from the Mangu High School, I'm Hassan Juma.
Brookside Kenya Secondary School Sports Association Games highlights with Brookside Dales. Brookside, nurturing sporting talent.
Tomato soccer now. FC Leopards yet again have gotten themselves into the wrong books of the Kenyan Premier League after a section of the fans invaded the pitch, attacking centre referee Peter Waweru and his assistants. Drama ensured just minutes to the final whistle, and fans who did not feel satisfied by the referee's calls opted to turn their anger on the official, leading to the cancellation of the match. However, the security officers did not do much to quell the situation, as most of the fans were let go even after they were destroyed by the properties. Chamberlain Sugar was leading 3-2 at the time. Really bad images there as far as soccer is concerned. But in that match, Shemel won 3-2 and now kicked FC Leopards out of the KPL Top 8 match. Staying in soccer, Thika United says it has seen its eyes on the KPL title this season, more so after losing out in the Top 8 tournament. Victor Gala visited the third place team at the Bears in Thika and filed the following report.
Come to the training sessions.
Coach John Kamau with his daily routine as he tutors his youthful Thika United side ahead of the weekend clash against Karuturi Sports. The Nevasha Flowermen are placed 13th on the log, and Thika United could use their current placement to scare the Flowermen.
We are working on 2/3 of the matches. That is, we get the 5 first matches, we get our goal setting, then each and every one, the management, the technical bench, the players, we work toward that goal.
During the January transfer window, the Thika-based outfit did not go for big signings like their competitors and are currently at position 3 on the table with 13 points out of 7 matches, though they still have a game at hand.
Ningefurahia kuwaka na vijana wadogo kwa sababu kidogo wana ule ama wanataka kuachieve vitu katika maisha yao ya uchezaji wao. So nadhani inakuwa ni kazi rahisi sana kwa hao vijana wadogo kuliko senior players.
For a while now, the team has been training at the BAT grounds due to the poor condition of their traditional home turf, the Thika Municipal Stadium.
When they get into that gate, it's closed, so there's nothing to think out of the field of play. So mentally, it is a plus. But on the other side, I think it is denying us to master our pitch, and that's why you saw last year we only got 5 wins in our home matches.
The Brookside-sponsored boys lost to former champions Ulinzi Stars by a solitary goal last weekend. Thika United have continued to maintain the youth development structure over the years, a formula that seems to be working for them as the team finished at position 5 last year and are currently at the top of the table this season. Victor Ogale, KTN, BAT Grounds, Thika, Kiambu County.